Senator Josh Hawley is a Republican. He's a man who spends most of his time talking about masculinity while running from the Capitol rioters on video. He is now taking aim at airline executives. And I have to admit, I like a lot of this. The problem I have with it is that Hawley is a total hypocrite. So we're going to look at this clip. This clip has been making the media rounds, and it's Josh Hawley ripping into the airline industry. He says that flying a Spirit and Frontier is a horrible and terrible experience. He goes after the practice that some airlines have of paying a commission. Call it a bounty, call it a commission, call it a spiff. When gate agents say, that bag looks a little big to me. Put it in this thing. Or let me measure it. Oh, you're going to have to pay to check this bag. So sorry. Some of the airlines pay those gate agents a commission when they identify those bags. Josh Hawley is rightly going after all of it. Josh Hawley gets a lot of things right here. Flying has become unbearable. The crammed seats, the fees, the customer service, that's a complete and total nightmare. However, you have to remember that most of these values that Josh Hawley is attacking the CEOs for here are values he's actually defended when it comes to businesses and their right to do business how they please. So let's take a listen, then we'll talk about it.
Mr. Schroeder, so how much have you paid your gate agents to enforce your carry-on bag policy, to pick people out of the line like the chairman's video showed? I mean, you guys do appreciate that flying on your airlines is a disaster, don't you? I'm slightly amazed by the general attitude of all of you here. Flying on your airlines is horrible. It's a terrible experience. I mean, I say this as a father of 3 young children, but I can't tell you, Mike, nobody enjoys flying on your airlines. It's a disaster. You charge people fees that they know nothing about. You harass them to death. I'll never forget, Mr. Johnson, during COVID, when an attendant on your airline threatened my wife because our then 5-year-old son, his mask had slipped. This is back when we all had to wear those ridiculous masks. His mask had slipped below his nose. This flight attendant came up to my wife and said, if she didn't keep that mask over his nose at all points on this 4-hour flight, she would personally see that my wife was banned from flying. This has happened over and over to families. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And your attitude here today seems to be, well, devil may care. There's nothing we can do about it. Well, I think we are going to do something about it. So how much have you paid people to pull out customers who are in line with a bag that's 2 centimeters too big, Mr. Schroeder?
Well, we recognize this is a hard job, and so therefore we incentivize them to do that.
How much?
It's $10 per bag.
Wow, $10 per bag. And I think, Mr. Klein, you and Mr. Schroeder, your airlines cumulatively have spent $26 million paying gate agents between 2022 and 2023 to catch passengers whose bags are a little bit too big. $26 million. I mean, if people want to know why it's such a terrible experience to fly, this is news for them today. Your airlines are paying millions of dollars to your employees to harass people.
So listen, a lot of what Josh Hawley says here resonates with me. Hawley is singling out airline employees who enforce bag fees and these nickel and dime policies. It's infuriating. It's horrible. It's a disaster. It's the way that these discount carriers have chosen to do business. And it is something that Josh Hawley has long defended. They should be allowed. If you go by Josh Hawley's expressed philosophy on business regulation, why would you drag these CEOs to Washington to dress them down when they should be allowed to do whatever they want and people should vote with their dollars either by traveling or by not traveling with the airline they like or dislike? That is not my view. That's the view on business regulation that Josh Hawley has expressed before. As far as, kind of going after the employees that are doing this stuff, they're trying to keep their jobs in an industry that thrives on squeezing passengers and employees, right? They get the $10, which they're eager for because they're underpaid. The passengers are annoyed. So this isn't really about the individual airline people that are doing this. But the real problem I have with this is Hawley is not a fighter for working class rights. This is the guy who opposes stronger unions. This is the guy who fights against wage increases. So he wants to call out the airlines for having a policy of harassing passengers. I'm with you. I think it's horrible. But he hasn't lifted a finger to improve working conditions for the employees that are stuck enforcing those policies. And when it's convenient, Hawley will generically blame corporate greed, but only when it's convenient. When there was this fire, when corporations were gutting environmental regulations, he didn't really seem to care very much. When the benefits for workers are being slashed, he didn't seem to care very much because he's doing this kind of populist dress up. He's not really interested in solving problems. He's interested in these sort of moments. And it's an anti-elite act that's wearing very, very thin. You know, talking a big game about he's against the elites. But his donors include the very people that profit off of exactly this sort of airline policy. Do we really think he's genuinely going after airline CEOs? Or is this yet another opportunity to play Mr. Populist while he actually has a policy of saying, let businesses do whatever the hell they want? So while I agree with much of what he expresses and the frustration, this is really about Josh Hawley trying to score points. And it's the same shtick that he's been running for years. Paint himself as a champion of the average American while quietly supporting policies that make their lives worse, or at minimum, looking the other way. That's what this is really about. Well, I wrote a book after a long journey and a ton of work. I am really thrilled with how it turned out, and I hope you'll read it. The book is called The Echo Machine. And in a nutshell, it looks at how American politics got so broken, who has already figured out solutions, and how we can try to fix it and stop the terror of Trump for the next 4 years. With Trump winning this election, the Echo Machine couldn't be more relevant, not only a warning about how we got here, but also about what might be coming and how to prevent the worst outcomes. We've got to stay engaged. We need a plan, and that's what the book is about. There's a belief out there that unless you have corporate media behind you, you can't have a successful political book launch, that it's not possible. I think we can prove that wrong. Order The Echo Machine today at davidpakman.com/echo on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Audible, Kindle, anywhere that books, ebooks, and audiobooks are sold. You can also call any local bookstore and say, please order me The Echo Machine by David Pakman. Wherever you get the book, you'll get the free pre-order perks, including the signed book plate. Head to davidpakman.com/free book stuff after ordering.